First of all, look at this beat. Yeah, I did that. Anyways, let's jump right into this video. Hey y'all, it's Ali. I am a social media commentator. No, I don't have any credentials. I'm just a yapper like you guys is putting a label on it. Let's jump right into it. First and foremost, NicOlandria Nation. I know that we thought that we weren't going to be getting much content from either of them, but Nick is feeding the hell out of us. He had an interview yesterday with a podcaster called Chicks in the Office. Now, mind you, I will let you guys know if you have not come across this interview yet. It is on YouTube. You guys can watch it. His part is like 30 to 45 minutes long. But either way, these two women that are a part of this podcast actually used to talk shit about Nick and Alandria as a couple and everything. But the way that they were kind of acting when they got him in the seat, in the quote unquote hot seat, makes it seem like they were very much, trying to save face and sucking out to him a little bit. But if you once again are an analyzer like I am, then you would notice that the questions they were asking him is trying to get him to switch up, or trying to get him to mess up in some way, backing him in a corner in regards to him and Sierra, him and Bella, and him and Olandria. But Nick stood 2 toes down on how he was feeling regarding all of his situationships. And he even expanded on how he felt about Sierra and their moments, and why he and Alendra are trying this out. And I think that the way that he answered these questions, I'm going to give it was with a lot of grace. I could tell that he was getting upset because he kept on doing that little blinking thing. And one thing about Nick, when he wants to say something but he's trying to be very cool and calm and cordial, he's going to blink hard as hell, okay? And that's all he kept on doing in this entire interview. He kept on blinking hard as hell, and he tried to make sure that the way that he spoke was very careful and everything. When it came down to questions about Sierra, he was like, yeah, me and Sierra did have a bond. We did have a special bond out there and everything. And I did contemplate whether or not I wanted to go with her. But then I'm realizing that, if I go with her, then how would that be in regards to my morals, especially if she did do something that was bad. So I decided to stay. And that's how me and Alandria, came together again. We were both lost on our relationships, her relationship with Taylor and his relationship with Sierra, and they built a genuine bond from there in regards to, building a romantic bond. He also dives into his feelings with his feelings with Landria and how it became even more romantic. He says that it was actually more pertaining towards the whole baby challenge, and when she just kind of let him lead her and he kind of took over, taking care of her, he really did appreciate that. And of course, from there on out, when it came down to family day, it just definitely helped him understand that he could actually try this out with not Sierra, sorry, with Alandria, and see where it goes. And yes, y'all, he did speak very highly of Sierra. Obviously, he still cares about that woman. And this is one reason why he even, admitted that he doesn't want to put a label on him and Alandria, simply because him and Sierra were closed off for a bit. And he just really wants to make sure that what they're easing into is genuine, authentic, and natural. And people are complaining about that. They're saying that that was a weird choice of words. And I think that you guys are tripping out. I'm not going to lie. I think that was him actually being very honest. One thing about Nick is that he can't lie for shit, okay? He cannot lie. He might be able to tiptoe around a few things and not answer a few things, but he cannot lie. An example of this would be when the podcasters asked them about the whole different ways of how he would, interact with Sierra and how he would interact with Alandria. And he was the one to bring I am also hearing people complain about the fact that Nick said that Bella Dasha was like pretty much his type on paper, like to the T. And, but, Sierra checked off more boxes than Bella Dasha did. And people are trying to use this against him as if to say that, Olandria is not his type at all. But the thing is, first and foremost, somebody being a type or having a preference of something in particular does not mean that they are not willing to date outside of that type, obviously. Second of all, Olandria and Nick have, there's going to be that physical attraction. I mean, there's a reason why he kept on saying that Olandria, he wanted to explore things with her. There's a reason why he kept on saying Olandria is beautiful. And there's a reason why he kept on kissing her. Despite even when him and Bella Dasha were coupled up. Now, mind you, if him and Bella Dasha were like, so close, there would be no reason for him to pick Sierra if that was his type to a T, But he picked Sierra because, as he stated in this interview, Sierra just crossed off a few more boxes than Bella did. And I think that's okay. Now, mind you, if we're talking about preferences and type, Olandria also stated that, like, I think in day 2, episode 1 or 2, that her type was also, a cowboy, which is why she was so, getting so close to Taylor and why she was seeking out Taylor so much, because that was her type to a T, a black man that is very Southern, and that was obviously a cowboy. That was something that she's into. I mean, mind you, she grew up in fucking Alabama. Let's not forget that. And Nick grew up in, of course, Florida. Let's not forget that. But that doesn't really mean anything when it comes down to a physical connection in regards to, obviously, they're having a attraction to each other when they kiss, and obviously to an emotional and mental connection, especially within the last few episodes of the show. I think that you guys should just chill out on that. Just because Nick is not Olandria's type and Olandria is not Nick's type, or not their typical preference, doesn't really mean anything. That does not mean that this is not going to last. There's also a few things that people have been pointing out to me, or have been pointing out, that I feel like might be like a good criticism, is the way that Nick is like soaking in, the NicOlandria high, in regarding to the way that people are like hyper focusing on their relationship and coupling, and they're using the example of Nick, kissing Olandria princess style during Disneyland as they were going home, and they're saying like, oh, he's doing way too much, like he needs to back up off of her. And in a way, I'm like, well, yeah, if we're talking about Olandria being an introvert, then I can definitely see that. But think about it this way: if I were Nick and I were to find out since day one that not only my mother, my family, the fucking world has been rooting for me to get with this girl, then I would be running off that high as well, right? The grand gesture is always feeling the need to post her on his story on Snapchat. Mind you, they still Snapchatted this in big 2025. That's crazy. But anyways, the stuff like that, I actually understand. It's hard to like not ride that high when so many people are rooting for you and this woman being together. But I do think at the end of the day, and this is me calling myself out, I think that sometimes we do overanalyze, right? I think that we do sometimes get in over our heads to the point where we are being a little pessimistic when it comes down to them, right? I think that this is a learning curve for both of them. And I think that instead of hyper-focusing on what could possibly go wrong, we should focus on what could go right for them. Especially considering the fact that they had made plans way ahead of time, even after the reunion. Once again, Nick and Nick's mom they're planning a family get-together. They are already planning on going to a football game in September. Like, these are things that they have already actively talked about. So obviously they're taking this connection like serious. I also think that you guys need to stop infantilizing Olandria. If Olandria felt uncomfortable with it, I'm sure she would tell Nick, and they would be able to maneuver around that either way. But yes, I do agree that we need to stop overanalyzing them and what they do out in public all the freaking time. I can only imagine how tiresome that is for them. But yes, thank you guys for tuning in to this Love Island commentary. Once again, please follow or subscribe to me if you're seeing me on YouTube, and I will see you guys next time. Mwah. Bye-bye.